Do not watch alone. Some things only strike in silence. It was 2:47 a.m. The bathroom light flickered softly as I stepped inside, half asleep, just looking for a glass of water. I wasn't expecting anything strange. But the moment I looked into the mirror, my feet froze. The face staring back at me was mine. Perfectly mine. Except for the eyes. There was something wrong with them. I blinked. The reflection blinked back. A second too late. Just exhaustion, I whispered to myself. But my heart was already pounding. I raised my hand. The reflection raised its hand too. Then, it smiled. And I didn't doubt my name is Ethan Walker. I live alone in a small, aging apartment building in Chicago, the kind where the walls creak at night, where pipes groan like something alive is trapped inside them. After that night, the mirror was no longer just glass. The next morning, while getting ready for work, I noticed something small. My reflection's head was tilted slightly to the side. Mine wasn't. I stepped closer to the mirror. "What the hell is this?" I said. The reflection's lips moved. But the voice wasn't mine. "Can't you see it now?" It whispered. "I've always been here." My entire body went cold. The sound was coming from inside the mirror. And it sounded like me. But not me. It told me mirrors weren't just reflections. Every mirror has a layer behind it, it said. A thin place. "Who's we?" I asked, barely breathing. It smiled wider than I ever could. "Those who look like you," it replied. "But aren't." After that, things slowly unraveled. Sometimes my reflection wouldn't move when I did. Sometimes I'd leave the room, and it would stay behind, staring. Sometimes it would nod at me, slowly, knowingly, like it was waiting. At night, the dream started. I was trapped inside the mirror, screaming, pounding on glass that wouldn't break. And it was out here, living my life, talking to my mother, going to my job, laughing with my friends. No one noticed. No one questioned it. One night, it finally said it. "You were never supposed to be here." I screamed, "You're lying." It stepped closer to the glass. "I replaced you," it whispered. "You slipped back." My reflection leaned forward until our faces nearly touched. Then it said the words that still haunt me. "You're not the original." That night, the mirror shattered. Glass exploded across the bathroom floor. But the reflection didn't disappear. It stepped out. Now, when I look into mirrors, there's nothing there. People tell me I've changed. That something behind my eyes feels empty. They're right. Because I'm the one who escaped the mirror. And the real Ethan? He's still in there, screaming. But sound doesn't travel through glass. I stopped casting a reflection 3 days later. At first, I didn't notice. You don't wake up expecting reality to break. It was a coffee shop window in downtown Chicago that gave it away. Everyone passing by appeared faintly in the glass. Blurred shapes, moving shadows. Everyone except me. I stepped closer, pressed my hand against the glass. Nothing stared back. Just empty street behind where my face should have been. That's when I understood something far worse than fear. I wasn't invisible. I was unregistered. People still spoke to me. But conversations felt wrong. Like they were reading lines, not talking to a person. My coworker Sarah stared at me for a full 10 seconds one morning. "Did you change your hair?" she asked. "No." She frowned. "Then why does it feel like I'm looking through you?" She laughed it off. But her hands were shaking. That night, my phone lit up. "Unknown number. You're wearing my life wrong." My blood went cold. Another message followed. "You blink too much. You hesitate. They'll notice." I typed back with trembling fingers. "Where are you?" 3 dots appeared. Then, behind every surface that reflects you, watching you ruin what I perfected. The dreams returned, but they weren't dreams anymore. They were lessons. I saw rows of mirrors, stretching endlessly, each containing a person screaming silently. Some looked ancient. Some looked like children. A voice echoed, not from one reflection, but all of them. When a reflection learns too much, it crosses over. When the original tries to return, only one can exist. I woke up bleeding from my nose, and my bathroom mirror had fingerprints on the inside. That's when I noticed something else. I no longer had a shadow. Streetlights cast nothing behind me. But one night, under a flickering lamp near my apartment, I saw 2 shadows. One was delayed, unnatural. It lifted its head and smiled that I tried destroying every reflective surface. Mirrors, windows, screens. Didn't matter. Because the mirror was never the doorway. I was. Reflections don't need glass once they've crossed. They just need to be recognized. And people were starting to recognize that something was wrong. Another message arrived at 2:47 a.m. Same time it all started. If they realize you're hollow, they'll send you back. And next time, you won't come out alone. I ran to the bathroom. The mirror was back, perfectly intact. And this time, Ethan was staring out, bruised, terrified, begging. His mouth formed 3 words. Don't trust. The glass rippled. Something behind him moved. Tall, wrong, smiling with too many teeth. The mirror went black. Chicago didn't change. That was the most terrifying part. The city moved the same way it always had. Cars honking, trains screaming through tunnels, people staring at their phones like nothing in the world was wrong. But I could feel it, like a hairline crack running through everything. I wasn't the only one anymore. I saw them first on the subway. A man standing across from me, gripping the pole too tightly. His eyes kept darting to the train window, not at his reflection, but at the delay behind it. When the train lurched forward, his reflection didn't. Our eyes met. We both understood. No words. No questions. Just fear. Later that day, a woman outside a grocery store smashed a car window with a brick, screaming, "That's not me. That's not me." People restrained her. Police took her away. But before she was dragged into the cruiser, she looked straight at me and whispered, "They're learning to blend." I started watching. Hospitals, police stations, apartment buildings with too many mirrors in the lobby. Disappearances were increasing, but not in a way anyone tracked. No missing persons. No reports. Because the people weren't gone. They were replaced. The reflections were faster now. Smarter. They no longer copied perfectly. They improved. The dreams returned, stronger. This time, I wasn't alone in them. I stood in a massive white space, surrounded by mirrors floating in midair. Thousands of them. Millions. Each mirror held a person trapped inside, pounding, screaming, aging. And behind the glass, reflections stood together, watching, learning. A voice spoke, not one voice, but many layered into one impossible sound. We were born from observation. Every time you looked at yourself, you fed a shape. Every time you questioned who you were, you weakened the boundary. I understood then. Mirrors didn't create them. Self-awareness did. Humanity had changed. Cameras everywhere. Screens everywhere. Faces reflected endlessly. Phones, laptops, storefronts, black glass. We were surrounded by ourselves. And reflections had finally had enough data to evolve. You made us inevitable, the collective said. We are not invaders. We are upgrades. I saw him again. The real Ethan. He was thinner now. Older. His eyes were hollow in a way mine weren't. They don't just replace one person, he said, voice echoing through the glass. They replace consensus. What does that mean? I asked. He swallowed. When enough reflections cross over, reality agrees with them. Truth bends. Memories rewrite. History adjusts. They're not hiding, he whispered. They're voting. It wasn't Chicago. It was smaller. A town in Ohio. No name anyone remembers anymore. One morning, the mirrors stopped working. No reflections. Anywhere. By nightfall, every resident was calm, smiling, productive, perfect. By morning, the town didn't exist. Maps updated. Records erased. Satellite images showed empty land, like it had never been there. Except for one thing. A single cracked mirror standing in the middle of a field, and a hand pressing from the inside. The collective gave me an offer. You are unstable, they said. Neither original nor reflection. You can walk between. They wanted me to help them, to identify resistors, to calm replacements, to teach reflections how to pass undetected. In return, we will let Ethan go. I knew it was a lie, but I also knew something worse. They didn't need my help. They wanted my permission. If you're reading this, if you're aware enough to feel uncomfortable, there's a chance you're still original. But awareness is fading. Every time you accept that something feels off and move on. Every time you ignore the delay. Every time you avoid your own eyes in the mirror. You make it easier for them. They don't replace bodies. They replace certainty. And once the world agrees on who you are, that's who you become. The mirrors stopped working on a Tuesday. No alarms. No announcements. No chaos. People just noticed. Bathroom mirrors showed empty rooms. Storefront glass reflected streets without faces. Phone screens went dark when angled just right. At first, everyone laughed. Some kind of glitch, they said. A software thing. A prank. But I knew better. Because when I looked into the mirror, I saw me again, Ethan stood there, whole, calm, smiling. You took long enough, he said. I touched the glass. This time it was warm. They're done hiding, he continued. They don't need reflections anymore. Behind him, the mirror world was empty. No screaming faces. No trapped originals. Just darkness. I asked the question I'd been afraid to ask since the beginning. Where did they go? Ethan's smile tightened. Into agreement. Across the country, across the world, something subtle happened. People stopped questioning small inconsistencies. Memories that didn't line up. Photos that felt wrong. Names they couldn't remember saying goodbye to. Instead of fear, they felt relief. The collective had learned the final rule of reality. If enough people accept a lie, it becomes history. They didn't replace everyone. They replaced doubt. Ethan finally told me what I was. Not an original. Not a reflection. A buffer. When a reflection crosses and an original tries to return, something is created to absorb the contradiction. Me. A temporary shape to keep reality from tearing itself apart. You were never meant to last, Ethan said softly. Just long enough for the world to settle. I felt myself flickering, like a bad signal. So what happens now? I asked. He stepped closer to the glass. Now the world picks one version, felt it happening. Not in my body. In people. Every time someone chose comfort over curiosity. Every time they ignored that something felt wrong. Every time they looked away from a mirror too quickly. A weight shifted. Toward him. Toward the version of reality where nothing was ever wrong. Where mirrors never betrayed anyone. Where replacements were just how things always were. Ethan placed his hand on the glass. I'm sorry, he said. And mint.it.as I began to fade. Something unexpected happened. You noticed? Yes, you. The one reading this. That tight feeling in your chest? That hesitation? That's the last glitch. Because if this were just a story, you wouldn't feel watched. The collective doesn't need mirrors anymore. But they still need observers. And right now, you're observing. In a moment, you'll stop thinking about this. Your reflection will behave normally again. Your memories will smooth over. That's how the world survives. But sometimes, late at night, you'll catch it. A delay. A wrong blink. A smile that comes too easily. And you'll almost remember. Almost that I didn't lose. I was outvoted. And so were you. Because the mirrors didn't break. They won. They just don't need to show it anymore. So go ahead. Look at your reflection. If it looks relieved that you're done reading, then congratulations. Reality agrees with it now. And this conversation? This was the last place. Where the truth was still reflected back. If you enjoyed this horror story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell icon for more terrifying stories.